Okay, so year 10. What we are going to be looking at today is some problems involving kind of trigonometry, also some Pythagoras. So it's going to be building on the work that we've done over your last few lessons. The kind of questions we're looking at will typically be worth 4 or 5 marks in an exam, and there'll be the sort of questions where it's not necessarily immediately obvious what you need to do. So here we've got this shape, which is a quadrilateral, and our quadrilateral, we should be able to see, can be split into two right-angled triangles. So we've got ABD and BDC. We are eventually, because the question tells us to, trying to find the length of CD, which is this side here. I'm just going to call that X. Now, if we look at triangle BDC, I don't have enough information to work out X. I either need to know this side and this side, or I just need to figure out one of the sides and then use the angle. Now, so we'll look at the other part of the diagram. With the other part of the diagram then, so with triangle ABD, we have got this. This is triangle ABD. Now we know that this side is 16 and this side is 12. We're not going to use any trigonometry at this point because we only use trigonometry when we're thinking about an angle, but we can use the other bit of maths we know, which is Pythagoras' theorem. So with Pythagoras' theorem says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c is the hypotenuse. So let's just label up our sides with that in mind. C is our hypotenuse, so this is C. A and B don't matter, so I'm going to call that A and that B, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest. So then let's just substitute from the question in. Instead of writing A, I can write 12 squared. B will be left blank, so 12 squared plus B squared equals 16 squared. Calculating then, that would be 144, because that's 12 squared, plus B squared equals, and then 16 squared is 256. So after that, to work out just b squared, I would subtract 144 from both sides. So we would do 256 minus 144, which is 112. And finally, if b squared is 112, to work out b, all we're going to want to do is to square root both sides. So when I square root both sides of my equation, I get b equals 10.583 centimetres. It's good practice not to round your numbers too near the beginning of your working. So we're going to use this number in a second. So I know it's quite a lot of writing out, and lots of you don't like writing out with the digits, but I am going to write it out as 10.583 centimetres. That's kind of part one of the question done. So all I'm going to do now, I'm just going to sketch out triangle BCD a little bit more clearly, hopefully, so you can tell exactly what's going on. We know that this side is 10.583 centimetres. We know that this angle here is 40 degrees. So now we know a side and we know an angle. That means we can use trigonometry, which is what we've just been practicing over our last few lessons. So when it comes to trigonometry, we label up our sides. So this is my hypotenuse. If this is 40 degrees, this side is opposite it, so this is the opposite, and this is the adjacent. We're then going to write out our SO, CA, TOA. And again, those two questions now that come into your mind are, what do I know and what do I want to know? So let's just think this through. I know, where's my pen gone? I know the opposite. I want to know the hypotenuse. So because of that, it's going to be sin. So we write out our formula for sin, which is sin angle equals up over hip. We rewrite this, sin 40 equals, sorry, that's just a 40, it's a horrible looking 40, equals, the opposite is 10.583 over my hypotenuse, which up here I called x, over x. We want to get it so it's x equals, so my first step is to multiply by x, giving me x times sin 40 equals 10.583. So after that, we've got x times sin 40. We do the opposite of multiplying by sin 40, which is dividing by sin 40. So we get x equals 10.583 divided by sin 40. And so now this is the point you grab your calculator again and we simply type that in. So 10.583 divided by sin 40 equals this, 16.4, oh, pen stopped working, okay, right, I can't write down there, one moment, equals 16.464, blah, 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 blah. We want our answer given to three significant figures. Three significant figures means we want 3 digits left at the beginning of our number, 3 non-zero digits left. So therefore, we look at this digit here, the 4th significant figure, to decide if we're rounding up or down. Because this is a 6, we round up, and so our final answer becomes 16.5 centimetres, and that there is our final answer. And that kind of question would be worth 4 or 5 marks. Okay, so year 10, second example of this kind of combined problem. So here we've got 2 right angle triangles joined together and there's some information that's labelled on the diagram. We are trying to find angle PQS. So PQS means this angle here. They've helpfully already labelled it for us with X. So we are trying to work out X. Now, we can only think about right angle triangles with the maths you know so far. Now with triangle PQS, I don't have enough information. I only know this 10 centimetres. I don't know anything else, so I can't do anything with PQS yet. But I can do something with SQR. So let's try looking at triangle SQR, labelling up your sides. So here is the right angle. So this is my hypotenuse. This angle is 65, so this can be my opposite. And then this side here is next to the angle, so this is the adjacent. And actually that will enable me to work out the length of the opposite. And that would be helpful to us because once we know the opposite, I can use that in triangle PQS. So let's write out SO, TOA, and be thinking to yourself, do I know what to do here? What would the next step be? So what do we know? We know the adjacent. We want to know the opposite. So which of our ratios is to do with the opposite and the adjacent? That is tan. So we are going to use tan then. So tan angle equals op over adj. We rewrite that. Tan 65 equals the opposite. I don't know the opposite at the moment. I'm not going to call it x just because that's already x and that might be confusing. So I'm going to call it y equals y over the adjacent, which is 3. So y divided by 3, I do the opposite of dividing by 3, which is timesing by 3. So 3 times by tan 65 equals y. And now I just need to type in that to my calculator. So into my calculator, 3 times tan 65, and that gives me this here, which is 6.434 centimetres, and I've given that to 3 decimal places for the moment. So this is 6.434. Now I would strongly recommend that you sketch out this triangle separately. So I'm just going to sketch out triangle PQS. So in triangle PQS, this side is 10 centimetres, this side is x, this is my right angle, and this is my 6.434 centimetre side. So we've got enough information now to find x, and we can use trigonometry to do that. So to use trigonometry, as ever, let's begin by labelling up our sides. So this is my right angle, this is my hypotenuse, this is angle x, so this is the opposite. This is next to angle x, so this is the adjacent. And it's really important. That's why I've drawn this out separately, because over here I said this side was the opposite, and it was the opposite because this was the angle. But now this is the angle, which therefore means this one's the opposite and this side is the adjacent. That's why I've sketched it out separately. But now let's go back to thinking about our so, can. So in this case, what you are saying to yourself, that internal monologue needs to be, what do I know? What are the two sides I know? I know the adjacent, I know the hypotenuse. So adjacent and hypotenuse means we need to use cos or can. So let's write out now my formula for cos. Cos angle equals adj over hip. We then substitute in the question. So instead of cos angle, we write cos x equals 6.434 over 10. Now that's cos of x. We don't want cos of x. We need to do the inverse of cos. Think back to yesterday. So the inverse of cos is cos minus 1. So we write x equals cos to the minus 1 bracket 6.434 over 10, like that. And then so finally, that should be a minus 1 there. You put this into our calculator. As a reminder, to put this into your calculator, you press shift and then cos. So shift, cos, fraction button, 6.434 over 10 gives a final answer of this, 49.95418, blah, 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 blah. Finally, let's just round up to 2 decimal places. So to 2 decimal places, you get a 49.95 degrees to 2 dp. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for now, year 10. I'm going to give you some questions to practice which kind of use those sorts of skills. Some of them you might find it quite tricky. If you're struggling with where to start, try like covering up part of the diagram with your hand. That's often quite helpful. As ever, please email me if you want some help just getting started or if you're completely lost. But give that a go and good luck.